There we go. Everybody's up and rolling, and we got it all working the way we want it to. So, good evening, everybody. Stop bumping into things, right? Get that up higher and then over. Just was experimenting with some brushes that I've been meaning to get to the last little while, so thought I'd finish up this and then work on something else. See how I feel about it. That one I feel like should be erased out more. Yeah, I love the the how you can customize the interface is really nice. Um, the other really nice, the way they handle perspective and the shape drawing tools is also really great. So there's definitely a lot to be said for it. Yeah, I guess you meant workflow. Yeah, I recommend it all the time to my students. So. Um, Wonder when they're going to update. It hasn't been updated in a while. But there's good evening, everybody popping in. I started working on a brush pack a while ago, but got distracted by life events, so that no more. Yeah, that's well, it's not as popular. Procreate has really great marketing, so that it doesn't do everything that Infinite Painter does. So it's interesting. It's like I'll recommend it to my students, but they don't always pick it up. Those that do, like, they have a much easier time with some of our projects. But yeah, so I've been I thought I'd try making a little ink set, and I mean I feel pretty good about it. I want to just do a few things in it before I actually put it out there to make sure it's doing all the things I want it to do. Clean up this background. I don't want that there anymore. Yeah, like in Procreate takes extra steps to edit your shape, and this one you just like grab it and get to editing it. Just great. Let's see. Delete. And voila, cleaned up that. I need to mess around with Fresco more. Like, yeah, I've used Procreate for a long time. Actually, before that, I used Art Studio Pro because it had more features than Procreate. It didn't do the interface, I think, nearly as well, but it had a lot of stuff that only Photoshop had at the time. That was a long time ago, and you could import your Photoshop brushes into it, uh, which not everybody used to be able to do. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Sometimes the actually Infinite Paint people will pop in here. I've worked with them a little bit before. Um, I did a demo at Lightbox um, a couple years ago on Zoom. Which you can find on their YouTube channel. So if you look it up, I think it's called Thinking Inside the Box. I talk about using forms and things to help define what you're drawing. It's a joke I like to use with my students. Like, hey, I need to learn to think inside the box. Good. Everybody popping in. Hey, hey. Are you talking to somebody else? Noodle, I guess, somebody know? Yeah. Other person in here? I think that's working just fine. Yeah, I've been, it's got this general concept project that I'm working on. Um, Possibly a graphic novel. I've been working on some stories and things, but trying to figure out how to make some kind of ancient relic that feels completely alien. So I want to feel definitely like something made it, but it's nothing we would ever really make. And so I had this little thought finishing up the day. I've sketched other ones before, like little thumbnails and things, but also, yeah. So it's stuff I can use for a portfolio that's not client based, and then use it to find some freelance, if I want to do that. But I've been thinking maybe doing some kind of art book related to it. And then in the process of looking at that, I've been thinking about it as an actual kind of longer term. Yeah, so yeah, it's been something I've been exploring for a bit. I've got a story treatment I've been putting together, so but that's not something I've been doing here. Even have put together some beat boards based off of it. Just help me kind of visualize it. Finally finished those the other day. Um, so looking forward to getting that worked out. There's some more things I need to figure out with it, but kind of have a general outline. Something simple because I've never done any kind of graphic novel thing before. So I want to kind of limit the locations and the character numbers and all that in order to kind of focus it a little bit better. And then if that works out, like that works out well, then look beyond that. So, but that's all been happening off camera. So, got a stack of those lying around here. Let's see. Get rid of this extra stuff. But yeah, there's just a bunch of little, well, large, I guess, storyboards. Yeah, like this one. Right, there she is. So I've got a stack of 25 or something of those that I did, and they're all done in about 10 minutes each. But there's a whole. I don't animate. I wouldn't mind learning sometime, but it's nothing I've ever spent any time with. Um, I wouldn't mind learning how, but there's only so many things I have time for. Yeah, I teach at a university. I'm a professor of concept design. So that's what I mostly do. I'm a, so it's interesting, I'm a, very rare position. You don't find them very often. But I'm a tenure track research professor. So, what that kind of translates to is I have a responsibility to kind of keep up my professional practice. Just I've taught at a bunch of different ones, but I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I teach at Virginia Commonwealth University. So yeah, it's good. Good. Seems like a really great school. A lot of great people that I work with. Everybody seems very interested in doing what they can to help students. So that's always a plus, I think. Not, about a month or so away from finishing up my first. Or first year, rather. So I already finished my first semester. They're great. I've got a lot of very good students. I'm definitely pushing them. I think I'm requiring more from them than they're used to. They're all good. I always enjoy students anywhere I go. Um, I've always liked the students. I'll hear complaints about them. Nothing to complain about, but um, in general, my classes are set up to kind of weed out people that are lazy. So, like, if you take my class, as long as you're getting everything done and you're following through on the steps or the processes that I teach, then you will probably pass. You're not guaranteed an A, but you'll probably do pretty well. If you don't keep up with the homework and you fall behind, you don't turn things in on time, then the class, then you fail. So it usually gets rid of students that don't want to work as hard as others. But I've always got like some really good standout students that are self-starters and been practicing a lot of the things we teach in the class to a certain degree even before I met them, but I'm kind of specific about those things. Say the students are lazy. I think part of it is I think they forget what they were really like as a student. It's easy to forget that because you teach for a long time and you kind of know what students need to do to succeed. And you know how passionate you were about things, and you don't feel like students always share that same level of passion or they should be interested in certain things. Um, and I look back on my own self and I know where I was more focused or less focused on certain things that I should or shouldn't be, and I can kind of empathize with that more. I'm not young anymore. I'm 45, but But I still remember, and I'm always learning new things too. So I'm not just doing the same things I did 20 years ago. I'm trying to, uh, master new skills or find areas and things that I thought I was good at and get better at those things. I've been coming here with a new job. So I feel like, my skills can definitely be improved in certain areas. Um, but a lot of times, a lot of professors also kind of teach the same subject, and so they get very, very good and very deep into that subject. Well, that's why I think it's frustrating for the teachers. So, for example, there's a very important, and his teacher, Howard Pyle, and a lot of times when professors will introduce these illustrators to their students, they don't feel like the students get excited about them in the way that they think. Is that we live in a very different time, even from when I was a student. So when I was a student, we were already starting to do almost everything digitally. A lot of my professors didn't know how to do it because it was still kind of new to them. But I was kind of in school with that. There's still a lot of traditional, painting and things that go on in illustration and in the schools, but um, but there's so much nowadays. There's so much information for students to look at. So when I was looking at, and there are now that are alive, so I definitely looked at the historical ones to learn, and for me because there's things I was trying to understand, and students today, they've got all of the social media stuff, and which didn't exist at all when I was a student. There was no Facebook from school. I was on the forums like conceptart.org or the forgotteneatpoo.com, which doesn't exist anymore either. And but again, there was stuff on those forums, but it wasn't the same volume of stuff that you get today. It's more similar like what you would get on like ArtStation. If you follow a certain number of people, like you might get that much new stuff. But let's add a layer under there. And let's grab I made some screen tones to use with my stuff here. But again, students today, again, they've got so much to look at and think about. And I think sometimes professors, we forget that because, they're looking at artists I've never even heard of half the time. I think the trick with getting them to look at it, the history of it, is kind of why, what they liked is good today and how that helps. Screen tones. Made my own screen tone brush. Appreciating history is like, what do you do with it? So if you're looking at Michelangelo or other people. Oh, excuse me. What do you take from Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci? Because they were drawing a long time ago. We know a lot more stuff now, obviously. So why are we looking at them? What did they do for us? Why should I care? A relevant question. Why should they care? And so part of what I like to show, because this is one of the things that I learned early on, is it's helpful to look at the lineage of inspiration. So we might not even know anymore because the way things work. But you can look at other artists, you can see where things come from. It's like for the style I'm doing right here, I'm looking a lot at Sean Gordon Murphy. and he's a living comic books, works in traditional media, which I like to do too. Um, but if you look at his work, and I don't think he really talks too much about his influences if you were to listen. If you know who Bernie Fuchs is, if you know who Bill Watterson is, if you know who Sergio Topi is, you'll see who's influencing him, even if he doesn't remember anymore. He's not, he's not young. He's probably the same age as I am. Far more successful, of course, but if you go look at those guys, then you can look at who was influencing them. Trend of development and inspiration, and that can really inspire a student because they'll be looking at maybe a surface effect that an artist they like has, the rationale behind why things are the way they are, and when you kind of see that, it makes a really big difference for your perception of what you're doing in your place, so you're not spending all of your time reinventing the wheel, rediscovering fire. How inspiration is valuable, but also just kind of what knowledge is out there that you might not be aware of just because you only see what's in the moment. It's like I was watching a video on, I think it was on Instagram. This guy was showing how to draw steps for stairs in perspective. And now, from what I understand, this person is a self-taught artist. And in watching what they were doing, I realized that they were doing it the much easier way. They were kind of doing each step on the stairs one at a time rather than working in a smarter way, which is to go from the back, mark off, how high the steps are, and then put them in. And this artist, who's professional, does, covers for, major comic books and interiors and all that stuff, was doing it backwards, doing it the hard way. Or there was a class I took from a professional book cover artist who's really amazing. I love his work. I think he's a smart person. I've gotten to know him a little bit, and he works using a shape that comes from the Japanese style of design called Notan, Notan, and it's very influential approach to composition, and I have a particular way of teaching it to my students that they don't know they're about to encounter in a few weeks. But and it's challenging if you haven't done it before. But this artist, he basically does what I teach, but he just never heard of Notan before, and he's in his late 50s, so he's not young. And he'd never heard of it before. So he probably would have saved a lot of time if he'd heard of it before. So it's it's really important to understand a larger view of things because you just don't know what you're missing out on. It's like I had another one was an art teacher I had after I graduated. He never finished college. Yeah, I do worry about they prefer to see this kind of stuff. Anytime I do anything 3D, nobody cares. So I know that. I still want to do it, so I'll do it anyway, but I do I do want to grow the account, so I do need to do more drawing. Yeah, because it actually used to be a few years ago. It was actually at 53,000. It's gone down. Yeah, probably a combination of Instagram killing bots, and then people on the Instagram But like this one, if I were to do a bunch of these, then they would start getting more views. Um, I can see it on YouTube or Twitch. If I do some kind of drawing stream, whether it's traditional media or digital, and my YouTube channel is very small, so I'm not too focused on it as a thing. Actually, you can see it listed on the pinned comment, but um, instead of 2 or 3 people checking out the live stream, I'll get 60 or 100 or a couple hundred people will watch it. But if I draw, uh, so I've always thought that it's interesting to see people like what they want from you, which I actually think is can be a powerful tool of social media. Because a lot of times artists don't know what people want, and even though there is the social media have kind of manipulative aspects to them, I think in general they're trying to get people to stay in the app. Application records this in the background. I'll be able to turn this into a reel or a post or both. They've kind of mixed what reels and posts are kind of together to a certain degree. Like you can put music on a post now. But I think it's good to kind of see what people want from you. Like if you're trying to make work that find work that you'd like to make, that other people like too, that's a good spot to be in. And so it's just a matter of kind of being focused on what's important to you and seeing how well that works for other people. Yeah, well, the thing is, like, even if, that's what I've wondered about is, to a certain degree, is I don't really, necessarily want new followers. Like, I'm looking for people that follow to be interested in my work or to become, maybe future customers if I've got a really good product I want to show, like, my teaching site or the music, then that doesn't really do me much good. It's nice, it's a nice number to look at, but it doesn't really do me any good as a professional. So that's like one thing to think about. Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of looking for, is people that want to learn more about storytelling. Those are all the kind of main things that I'm actually more interested in having as followers. Like you can have a very small following, very small amount of engagement, and do really well. If you know who the Etherington brothers are, you've probably seen their posts or their ads for their stuff. They do a book series on drawing every year that's they kind of update every year as a Kickstarter. $1 million, like $1.5 million every year for them. I don't like their advertising because it's not very honest advertising. Like they talk about their book being sold out. You can't find. They've never sold it in bookstores. They just do Kickstarters. But if you look at their social media, whether it's Instagram or anywhere else you might find them, they don't get a lot of engagement on there. But I think they've got a really good mailing list. Like I bought most of their books. I haven't bought the last two. They're really good, actually. Maybe I'll grab one to show you in the camera. Here on YouTube, you can't see them, but there's a whole stack of them. I have 2 on writing, and then 5 on drawing, and there's I think 2 more now, but they look like this. So you've probably seen them. And then the inside of it looks like that. And they post on Instagram and other places. So you might have seen them. But yeah, they're and then they also like they'll do this thing where they want you to get on their mailing list because they're going to have a super secret release date. And the thing is they don't have a secret release date. They just release it. There's not like a special reward for signing up. They're called the Etherington Brothers. So it's the Etherington. But I don't need that there. It's like Etherington. They're British. But their books are really great, and I have a feeling other people do the marketing for them. They don't really do that. They hired other people to do it for them. Yeah, they'll do things like they have a secret release date, and it's not really secret. There's no special perks for signing up early. So so there's a lot of stuff like that that's like you kind of like, well, that's not really true. But again, the books are really great. So it's like they're like 2-page thoughts on a specific drawing subject. It's like how to draw curly hair, or drawing boots, or drawing, how to draw a dinosaur, French braids. And they'll do like a whole page just like talking about that little subject and showing some examples. And it's definitely a cartoony-ish style. It's not super cartoony, but it's just fine too. I think that's often easier to show how to do things that way. But really expensive. So I was kind of getting them every year after their first. I think I bought the first 3 originally, and then they I updated it when they did the 4th and the 5th one. And they did have the writing books, which was nice. So that was included. I included that when I bought them. But to buy one book, it'll still cost me like $30 in shipping. So I thought I would wait a couple years and then get them when there's more books. 6 and 7. So I've been thinking about it, but I've already backed like a couple of Kickstarters this month. There's one more that I should back because it's one of my friends. So I might put these guys off till next year. What I should do, though, is maybe contact the university library and have them order them. Alright, I'm going to take a little... Been playing around with this inking style. Maybe I'll do another one. So I've got a group here. Start a new layer. I'll grab one of my favorite brushes, which is actually just a basic round brush. So I don't think it's you. Where are you at? Just draw, not there. Where are you hiding at? There. There it is. That is you. All right. Let's get it bigger. So what I should do is use the shape brush, fill brush. So did I grab? I grabbed. Let's just grab you, and then we'll knock back the opacity. This is another one of those great reasons to use this application. All right, and I want to grab the eraser version of that. Yeah, I like sort of silhouette. Sometimes I'll use lines like the previous one. If we look at what I did originally, turn this with this. Just the swirly stuff there. And then I did a kind of more detailed version. And then I did the inked one on top. Forgetting to use the shape things. I really like it. I just need to remember to use it. Such a great little brush to use. Makes things a little bit easier to work with. Yeah, I definitely should use this brush more often because it's really nice. I guess you can get it in Clip Studio Pro, which I have. I just haven't put any time in to learn. But let's go ahead and grab our circle, right? Just play because I want to make sure it does feel. Yeah, I want some inorganic elements in there. Scale this up so it fits the page better. And let's grab our So, it's definitely a lot to be said for this application. I also love the three-finger brush change and opacity change thing, too. That's another little favorite feature that others don't do. Alright, let's do a little detail pass. Alright, I think this thing got rotated by accident. Now let's grab my little fun brush. Where are you hiding it? There's the dog. Wondered where you were at. Right behind me. Good. Everybody popping in? Yeah, one of the major events happens in front of something like this. And of the story. Actually, several of them. They're at a park where they're not supposed to be, and there's a bunch of these totems present. They're in ruins, but then they come across one that's clearly never been touched. That's what these are for. So that's what's going on. That's what these are for. Maybe I'll put one on the ground over here. So broken. is. And they're pretty big. Right. Inking brushes. I do have a theory though why maybe 3D stuff isn't as popular in general with audiences online. I think due to the nature of the technology, it's definitely more kind of anonymous because of the way the technology works. A lot of the styles are often very similar just because of the way the tools work. So if something does pop off, it's usually because it's like a fan art piece or something like that for most people that do 3D. Really amazing. I don't know them personally, but I follow their YouTube channels. They do really great ZBrush stuff like Chaos Masons, Marco Plouffe, and he doesn't get very many viewers on his stuff, but and I don't know that he's so much worried about that. He must does it professionally. These are kind of like side things that he's doing. He does statues and things too, but he doesn't get that many views on his live streams and things compared to what you'd think he would, considering his professional ability. So I think that's one of the issues. And I also think 3D stuff tends to be more technically challenging. A good computer or setup or something like that. Typically, that it's also less approachable for most people. So they're not as interested because they don't see it as something that they can do. Kind of interesting, but not something that they really feel like they can access. But like for myself, I don't consider myself a professional 3D guy at all. I'm a fan of 3D. I can use it to a certain degree, but I wouldn't put me on a production team making real models. That's turn off request to go live. So I think that's part of why even like the ones I do maybe don't hit as hard as 3D live streams, just because it's not nearly as approachable for people. It's a lot more time to do, like, so due to that one owl character that I've been doing, I could draw it a lot faster. In fact, I did do a drawing of it. Um, but I probably get a lot more people interested in that than the 3D model, even though it's a simple, very basic sketch. They like this brush as an inking brush. It's like a Sumi brush. So I can get, really fine line, kind of organic strokes out of it. I've got a few different versions that I've made for this little brush kit. That have different levels of texture and some different shapes on it. They're all able to do the kind of the narrow line and the broad one. So yeah, not too bad. Good evening, everybody popping in and out. Just to look, see who's the most popular during, I guess it was during the day when I looked. I haven't looked in the evening, but who was the most popular streamers for art stuff during the day? And say, a few hundred or more people watching. They were all those VTubers, some little, cartoon, manga, anime figure making faces while they're drawing, anime, manga drawings. I was like, that's definitely not me. Drag. Doing that straight line thing here. That worked. There it goes. Maybe I need to come up with a VTuber persona. People way too weird and too much work for me to want to do. And annoying. Evening. We're going to be on for about another 25, 40 minutes or so. 30, 40 minutes. There. Good evening. The software, this is Infinite Painter. It's an iPad, and actually Android too, app that I like quite a bit. I've used Infinite Paint. I'm always recommending it to students. Some will get it, most won't, because they don't want to spend $10 for cost to get something amazing. Sounds like there's some sirens out there. Unique things that it does that I really like you can edit the interface, more customize it. Like if I want to pull out the color palette, I just take 2 fingers and pull it out, and I can put it where I want. I can size it differently. I'm just using black though, so it's not really care about that. I like the 3-finger thing, so you can change your brush size with 3 fingers going up and down. Or if you go, let's make it big. If you go left to right, you can make it more opaque or less with just your fingers. So stuff like that is like really great because you don't have to use any. There's a few other things that it does that I really like too that just kind of make it really easy to work with. So it's like a really basic thing that it does that other people really don't do. Actually, it's nice that brush sizing thing that works in that Nomad Sculpt app that I've been using too. Um, yeah, so yeah, it kind of makes make it easy, and it kind of I like that it integrates this touch interface with it really well, which is one of the things I love about the best iPad apps is that they really take advantage of the potential in the interface. So it makes it sometimes hard to go back to using the computer. I do have a shortcut on the computer. It's actually on my stylus on the computer on the Wacom, where So let's turn off our little shape layer. It's feeling better. No, not visible. There we go. All right, let's pick out our. Hello, Ringling College Motion Design. It's a very long name you got going on there. At least it's easy to spell, right? I appreciate that. I like to have a good time when I'm drawing. Now I just need to get. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. 9 o'clock, huh? Dude, that Wedson Jordao. Sorry about that. Probably going to shut off here in a few minutes. All right. Thanks, everybody that came in. And we'll catch you next time.